Hey, I'm Jason Bells, owner operator AGY, hanging out with Taylor Wagner today. One of our amazing coaches. Want to just dive in with her. You know, we highlight and talk to a lot of people outside of AGY. So we're gonna have a hang and a chat about what's going on inside AGY. So first, where'd you get your coffee today?
I got my coffee from Mother Earth Coffee in downtown Kansas City. It's the best. I get their cold brew with a little bit of heavy cream and agave. They also have a very delicious raspberry iced mocha. Those are my go-tos.
Dang.
Yeah.
So where is Mother Earth? I've never even heard of that one.
It's really close to Hyde Park. I'm directionally challenged, so I cannot give you a street.
So it's just there.
Yeah.
I will shout out Bare Necessities on 87th.
Very cool. Also a great
Love their gasoline cold brew.
Is it actually called that?
No.
Okay.
No, but it gets me going for sure. Especially after last night. Comets losing.
Yeah.
Heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Late in the game and very much late at night, way past my bedtime.
But it sounds like it was a good match.
I was rooting so hard for them. They left it all on the field. I don't think there's anyone that's gonna sit back today and be like, I didn't do enough.
That's good.
You know, which is the end goal.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
To
That was
watch
a
them,
long season.
You know, it feels long because we got started with them in, was it October, November?
I feel like it was cold. That's all.
It was like pre-cold. Like it was cool, and then it got really cold.
Okay, yeah.
And now it's over. But at the same time, it went so fast. But I want to dive in to, you know, it wasn't something that we did purposefully. It just happened that the last couple times that Jake came in and shot, we had mic'd you up.
Yes.
What I want to dive into is just like the context of why it's so funny.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, like we talked about before we started recording, I think parents or other athletes or other coaches might look and just be like, that's just a shit show. Like, what are they training? What are they doing?
Yeah.
What is it about the littles that fill you up, that you thrive off of?
Man, I mean, a lot of it has to do with like my personality and how I engage with people. I also like to reference young Tay Wags and what she would have liked as a coach and what she needed as a coach. And that definitely helps influence some of my tactics. So just making sure that they're in a space where they feel like they can be themselves.
I mean, we're talking about kids, right?
Absolutely.
So, like, I think it should be fun.
Absolutely.
Or actually, I should say I've come to realize that it needs to be fun. There was a time 4 or 5 years ago that I would work with that age group and train them as though they were high school kids, sure. Right? It's got to be fun, right? So you also work with the older kids. Besides just their height and their age, like what's a younger kid need if we're thinking performance? Mm-hmm. They want to get faster.
Sure.
They want to be better at their sport. How are you doing that in play? Like, what does a session look like? What are you coming up with?
Yeah. Usually we like to start with a game. The other day we played a ginormous game of tag across the entire space. I also played. I immediately regretted it. We play spike ball. They love soccer, tennis. Foursquare was a big game at one point too. Just to kind of introduce everyone to each other, but also to the gym, to the space. Again, just getting everyone comfortable in the environment. And then we'll kind of get into some body awareness, more movement, more direction. And it really depends on who's in front of me, what I decide to have them do. Because there are kids with more experience that have been with us for a while. There are kids that are newer. So that kind of helps me gauge what level the whole group's at. So then we'll get into a little bit more dynamic movement. Then it just becomes keeping them engaged, right? Because like you said, they're kids. They are high energy, man. They got energy for days. And I love it. I feed off of it. I enjoy it so much. But yeah, keeping them engaged by playing different games that are more related to a goal, like speed, change of direction, jumping, keeping it relatively broad, again, because allowing the exposure, I think, has been most important for them.
So you referenced Lil Tay Wags.
Yeah.
How do you think your sport journey would have been different if Lil Tay Wags would have gotten this when she was these kids' age, as opposed to maybe the structure
Yeah.
wrapped around what you got? Or maybe you didn't have
Yeah.
any of this available and you just did your thing.
Man, I wish I would have had something similar. Yeah, but little Tay Wags, man, she was really hard on herself. She was a perfectionist. I shouldn't even say was. Just hard on herself to the point where I would sit myself out of my like 6v6 soccer games if I was playing bad. I would literally sit myself out. My mom would question everything. So no, just having an environment where I could fail. I think failure is so underrated still. I think we gotta keep letting these kids explore and try weird things and make mistakes and look silly and let your ego go for a minute, maybe two, if you're brave.
I think looking at the landscape of sports society is like, I don't know why we have this it appears as though we have this expectation right now that these kids need to be little adults, right? Like we have pulled away the fun, without going super crazy off the rails, but like it's school. Like in elementary, my kids have recess once a week, or not recess, they pee once a week. Every 3 weeks they'll have it twice. And then recesses keep getting shorter and shorter, right? And so what they're doing is they're replacing that time with studying for standardized tests. So we all get the best grades, right? Like we have to be perfect on this test for whatever reason, right? And then are we playing into it a little bit? Seeing kids doing private technical sessions at younger and younger ages of like we're trying to make them pros at 9,
right,
instead of letting them just be creative with it, right? And trying to balance what I would have wanted to do, right? Like 35 years ago, I didn't have access to anything like this.
Sure.
And so if I did with baseball, I don't know if I would have, like I loved baseball. And so maybe I would have at 9, if I could have gone to private hitting coaches and pitching coaches, maybe I would have, but I don't know. I don't have those answers. I definitely would verbalize that I wanted to play pro baseball, but nobody around me knew what it took.
Right.
I would say now, like, hell yeah, I would have done all this. But in reality, if it was in front of me, maybe I would have just been like, well, maybe I actually don't want to be a pro that bad.
Right.
I just like playing baseball.
Yeah.
In that journey, I played because I just loved it and I wanted to get better. I'd find my buddies and we'd go play. But now there's just so much structure to the point where I almost feel like we are pressured to have so much structure when at the same time, all I want to do is rebel against structure for these little kids. Because like everywhere in their life is saying, you have to be a little pro. You have to get good grades. We expect you to be and act older than you are or more perfect than we should really expect you to be. So when you say you're a recovering perfectionist, It is. It breaks my heart when I do watch these little kids that like the first sign of failure or the first thing they do wrong, it's deflating. They get so frustrated. When you encourage them to fail, like how are we encouraging them to fail? How do you encourage them to fail? And then what is the response from you when they successfully fail on purpose?
I feel like keeping it broad is what's going to help these kids recognize that it doesn't look the same from one person to the other. Like it's never going to look the same. And similar to standardized testing, we're creating this idea where every kid has to fit in a box, and it's the tiniest box ever. Where if we allow them to be more creative, and my goodness, come up with an answer themselves instead of giving them this one answer, I think they're going to be so much more successful, but also willing to try something new, willing to, again, just make a mistake. In here, if I see one of the kids, you know, they feel like they've messed up or it didn't feel right, I will ask them what didn't feel right. Why did you feel slower? And then they'll do it again, and I'll ask, okay, did it feel better? And I'll get a yes or a no, and we'll talk about why. But then they just continue to try. They keep trying until they find something that they feel like suits them. Is it always the same answer? Again, no, because all these kids are so different, man, and it's so wonderful. Like it's so cool to see that.
So what do you hope these kids in the short term, when they walk out, you know, weeks after these first few months as they're training? In sport and out of sport. So having the courage to try something again, having the courage to try something at all, the willingness to work with others, the willingness to be directed by somebody else. Man, there are so many direct and indirect lessons that comes from hanging out in a group and trying to move your body. I hope the kids just understand that that's the perfection out of the gate isn't the expectation.
Exactly. Yeah, and I hope, you know, creativity too. Again, kind of like what we talked about. It's easy. It's really easy to fall into that box that we have created for ourselves and for our kids. But being fearless and being different, and again, just willing to try something new and be outside of that box, I think is going to take you so far.
Tay, that was awesome. Parents, if you are interested in bringing your younger athlete in to explore all the things that movement has to offer that can lead then to being faster and better in their sport. The group that Taylor takes charge of is called the Foundations Group. You can sign up online, trial session. It gets you just half off to come in, see it, feel it. That's the most important thing to us is, you know, we don't want you buying a number of sessions straight away. Come in, trial it, see if our vibe is your kid's vibe, and then we go from there. So check it out on the website, www.gr8ru.com, and look for Foundations.